But first, win, lose or draw, it's final score.
He was one of the heroes of the afternoon.
Latest score is Wimbledon.
John Terry's tears, we all remember those.
Crucial week.
Hello, good afternoon. We're back after the international break with the tastiest looking Saturday of the season so far. Last season's Premier League top six all in action today, with some of their big last-minute buys appearing in new colours for the very first time. We've acquired two veteran strikers during the transfer window ourselves. Garth, Crooks and John Hartson are here, keeping tabs on the day's events. They were very last-minute deals, and there was not much money involved either. And this is what's happening in the Premier League right now. And what a day it is. Hatem Ben Arfa's second goal in as many games put Newcastle United ahead, but Christian Benteke has just equalised at Villa Park. At Craven Cottage, Steve Sidwell has marked his 400th career appearance with a goal. It's all square between the battle of the new boys. Curtis Davis opened the scoring for Hull City. Peter Whittingham has levelled for Cardiff City. In the lunchtime kickoff, David Moyes enjoyed his first win at Old Trafford thanks to a controversial Robin van Persie penalty, but a brilliant Wayne Rooney free kick. There's frustration at the Britannia Stadium for Manchester City and Manuel Pellegrini. Oliver Giroud and a stunning strike from an in-form Aaron Ramsey has the Gunners ahead at the Stadium of Light. But there's an even bigger story developing there. We'll go there in just a moment. And Tottenham Hotspur lead Norwich City by 2-0, inspired by new signing Christian Eriksen. Spurs are playing some delightful football at White Hart Lane. Gylfi Sigurdsson has scored both goals. Well, as always on Final Score, we have reporters at all the matches in the Premier League and Championship, plus featured matches in League One and the Scottish Premiership. You can keep right up to date with all the action via the BBC Sport website and get the latest news, photos and stats from the BBC Sport Twitter, Facebook and Instagram accounts. First, to the Stadium of Light, Arsenal's new signing Mesut Ozil starts. They're looking for a 7th straight away win. What a game for Paul Addison.
It's absolutely fantastic, Jason. Arsenal are leading by 2-1 here, but we'll come on to the goals very shortly. But what's just happened, remember when goal line technology was brought in at the beginning of the season and we thought we'd no more have a controversy, as Arsenal have scored and they've got their third goal, and it's Ramsey again. He's scored the third for Arsenal. There was a hint of offside. I was looking down at the linesman, but he kept his flag down, and Arsenal now have a 2-goal cushion, and Ramsey has his second goal of the afternoon. To go back, it should be Sunderland level at 2-2 before that goal went in, however, because Jose Altidore had a shot. Szczesny got a touch to it and it trickled towards the line. It went over the line. Hawkeye said it was in, but the referee Martin Atkinson didn't give the goal. That would have then made it 2-2. Let's go back to the beginning. Mesut Ozil, man of the day, set up the first goal for Arsenal, finished by Olivier Giroud in the first half, of which they were totally dominant. Sunderland then scored beginning of the second half. Adam Johnson brought down by Lauren Koscielny. Half-time substitute Craig Gardner converted the penalty, and then Ramsey scored a great goal on 67 minutes. Carl Jenkinson cross and a sublime finish from Ramsey from the edge of the area, and he's just scored again to give Arsenal a 2-goal cushion here. But technology, controversy. It's Sunderland 1, Arsenal 3.
Right, we will talk to Garth and John about that in just a moment, but Newcastle have won just 2 of their last 21 Premier League games on the road. Let's go to Alan Green. Looks like they're on their way, Alan.
They're back in front. It's
Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 2. Newcastle took the lead in the first half. 18 minutes gone, Ben Arfa scored for them. Then midway through the second half, Villa having improved, they had to improve. Benteke equalised with a marvellous header. But 5 minutes after that equaliser, another goal for Newcastle. Ben Arfa's shot pushed out by Guzan into the path of Jouffran, the Newcastle substitute. 2-1 Newcastle lead.
Right, Tottenham Hotspur have spent around £100 million on several high-profile signings, but are they making an impression today, Jonathan Ledyard?
Oh yes, 2-0, they're in charge. Exhibition stuff from AVB's new-look team. 2 goals from one of last season's regulars who's just been substituted. Gylfi Sigurdsson is the concrete difference between the two sides, but Spurs' link-up play, their movement, and in particular their midfield controllers left Norwich grasping, frankly. Christian Eriksen's already a hero for his role. He linked up well for the first goal. Also linked well with Soldado throughout the game. A standing ovation when he was substituted just a few minutes ago. Norwich have caused Lloris to make just one save, but frankly they should have scored from it when the rebound fell to Robin van Wolfswinkel and he just fluffed his chance. It's 2-0 and Spurs are comfortably in control.
Jonathan, thank you very much indeed. The last time Manchester City won at Stoke City, it was a third-tier game and they partied like it was 1999. That's because it was. How are they getting on today, Ivan Gascoigne?
Well, Manchester City have never won a Premier League game here, just 4 points out of a possible 15. They're making hard work of this one too, with 10 or 11 minutes left. Stoke have contrived to miss all the best chances. John Walters, chief culprit, twice it looked easier to score, but he steered wide. Joe Hart also saving brilliantly when one of his own defenders almost turned the ball past him. Manchester City not entirely convincing. Stoke fans loving this new vibrant Stoke style, but just as I speak, a Stoke player down in his own 6-yard box. A heavy challenge when the ball was thrown into the box, and I have to say the player concerned hasn't really moved since he went down. He went flat out. There was a degree of concern. I'm really sorry, I cannot see who it is. He's surrounded by red and white shirts. They all looked pretty concerned. I think it might well be Robert Huth, and now he is a big unit and he has gone down very heavily. We cross our fingers that it isn't as serious as it looked. I'll keep you in touch.
Ivan, you're absolutely right. It is Robert Huth. It does not look very good. The two promoted teams, Hull City, Cardiff City. Damien Johnson is at the KC Stadium. Hull City have got the ball in the back of the net, Damien Johnson, but it looks like it doesn't count.
It doesn't. It was disallowed. Aluko had strayed offside, so it remains 1-1. It's been a game of 2 halves, this. The home side dominant in the first. Cardiff back in it after the interval. Curtis Davis stooped to head Hull City in front. That after Danny Graham had squandered a golden early chance for the Tigers. Cardiff have been a different proposition in the second half. Peter Whittingham's lovely left foot volley brought it level. Gunnarsson should have made it 2-1, but his header went wide. It's anybody's game, this.
Thank you, Damien. Well, the good news is that Robert Huth is now sitting up and is being treated by the Stoke City medics. West Bromwich Albion have never won at Fulham in the Premier League. Does their Craven Cottage jinx continue, Jackie Oatley?
Well, it looks that way at the moment. It's Fulham 1, West Brom 0. As Saido Berahino looks to try to make something happen, the West Brom substitute who scored 5 goals this season for West Brom and the England under-21s. West Brom, remember, in the Barclays Premier League, have yet to score as we approach the end of the 4th match. Fulham coming forwards on the break, but it amounts to nothing. It was Sidwell whose goal was hooked in the first half after a corner dropped to him. Berbatov in the second half could have had a hat-trick. He's had 2 efforts correctly ruled out for offside and one wonderful bicycle kick which only just sailed over the bar. He really did deserve a goal. He's since been substituted and replaced by Roddy Jaeger. At the other end, we've seen very little of Anelka. He's had 1 shot in the last 10 minutes or so, which was saved well by Stockdale. And Anichebe has toiled on his own up front. Very little service. He's since been replaced by Berahino. 1-0 to Fulham.
Millwall have got a goal back in the Championship. Martin Waghorn at home to Derby County. There is a big story developing at the Stadium of Light. Paul Addison, Paolo Di Canio is going absolutely crazy.
He will be raging, Jason, because Sunderland should have been level at 2-2. Josie Altidore and Bakary Sagna battling away with each other. And in fact, Sagna fouled Altidore in the build-up. Altidore's shot went in and was over the line, but the referee Martin Atkinson had already blown for a Sunderland free kick. So Sunderland have had the ball over the line, but it didn't count because the referee had already pulled back play after Sagna fouled Altidore. Remains here Sunderland 1, Arsenal 3.
To the Championship, we have a penalty at the King Power Stadium. James Mason.
and it's going to be taken by David Nugent of Leicester City. The penalty's just been given. Jean Beausejour of Wigan bringing down Jamie Vardy. The referee is just asking Scott Carson to go back onto his line. I'll bring you up to date. Leicester leading 1-0 as it stands. Liam Moore, a towering header in the first half to give Leicester the lead. There is some consolation on the pitch at the moment. A short stop, a few Wigan players trying to stop David Nugent taking the penalty, and Nugent now puts the ball on the deck. Leicester leading 1-0. The referee, David Webb, blows his whistle. Nugent, hands on his hips, starts his run up, stops, takes the penalty and scores. Carson does get a hand to it, but Nugent makes it 2-0 with approximately 10 minutes to go. Leicester City lead at 2-0.
So a very good afternoon then to John Hartson and Garth Crooks. Great to see you fellas. What an afternoon we're having. Big story developing at the Stadium of Light. What did you see, John?
Well, my view of it was if Martin Atkinson actually blows the whistle before Altidore gets his shot in, then you can live with that. But why Martin Atkinson doesn't let play go when Altidore's clearly got an advantage, let the foul go that Sanya's committed, Altidore goes through and he actually scores. But if the referee is blown before he shoots, then that's final for me.
What did you see, Garth?
Well, I saw Paolo Di Canio going absolutely crazy. And he obviously
justifiably?
feels... Well, he obviously feels
wanted the advantage.
He wanted the advantage. Now, it doesn't help when you see some referees, which we've seen this season, watch to wait to see how the advantage plays out. So if you do get the advantage, they don't bring back the foul. I've actually seen that happen this season. I think it was Arsenal Villa game, the opening game of the season. I think the referee waited to see what was going to happen. It ended into a goal when really he should have actually given the penalty and gave the goal. So when you start to get those sort of decisions, I think Paolo Di Canio's thinking, well, hang on a second, why didn't he actually wait to see the phase of play come to the end, in which case he wouldn't have given the foul against Sanya, he'd have given the goal.
There's an incident where the referee, you would say, is too quick putting the whistle to his mouth rather than just letting to see how play goes.
Having said that, we have been mightily impressed with Mesut Ozil today.
Yes, I said earlier, he looked like a player who'd been playing for Arsenal all his life. He's real class, and the goal that he makes, the first goal for Giroud, is superb. He's the master of the assists by all accounts, and when you watch him today, you can see why.
OK, we're going to the Championship. Tony Lockwood at the Den. Is the Millwall comeback on?
It's not. Just moments after Martin Waghorn came off the Lions bench to cut the deficit, Craig Bryson for the Rams has completed his hat-trick, Jason. All three have been special goals. Derby's 100% away record will stay intact, but these are challenging times for the Millwall manager Steve Lomas. Under pressure, Shane Lowry sent off. It's been a really disappointing afternoon. Poor home record in 2013, and Derby County lead at Millwall by 4-1.
Big problems for Steve Lomas at Millwall. Let's go to Hamish Marshall. How are the league leaders doing at the goal stands, Hamish?
They're beating Bournemouth by 2-1 and on course for a 5th win in 6 games, but they're having to do it the hard way. That was after fullback Jack Robinson was sent off for a second yellow card. They've taken the lead at the start of each half. Ricardo Fuller heading the opener and Neil Bishop restoring the advantage from a Tom Ince corner. Bournemouth aren't out of this, but they only have Lewis Graben's 5th goal of the season to show for their efforts. We've got 8 minutes left. It's Bournemouth 1, Blackpool 2.
Queen's Park Rangers piling the pressure on the league leaders Blackpool, Will Perry.
Yeah, QPR 1, Birmingham 0. The story of the game so far, it was a goalless at half-time. Birmingham, the better team in the first 45. Lee Novak headed against the post. Andrew Shinney missed a sitter. 4 minutes after the break, QPR got the only goal of the game so far. It came from a Joey Barton free kick, a scramble in the Birmingham box, and Charlie Austin, the man in the neon yellow boots, was there to head past Darren Randolph. You get the feeling though, Jason, the longer this stays 1-0 QPR, the more likely Birmingham are to score. And Jonathan Spector, just minutes ago, thought he had won a penalty for Birmingham, but he was booked for a dive. It is close. QPR 1, Birmingham 0.
In League One, Walsall now 3-0 up at Crewe. James Baxendale to Andrew James at the City Ground. How are Billy Davis's men getting on today, Andrew?
Well, they're struggling, to be honest. They're on the attack at the moment. It's 2-2 as Mike Pollitt turns yet another one over the bar. Forest had been leading 2-1, remember, but an absolute thunderbolt of a free kick from Thomas Shivka, the former Derby man, brought Barnsley back level. Pollitt in goal, 41 years of age, his 17th club. He's been the difference keeping Forest at bay today, but this could be Barnsley Barnsley's 4th consecutive draw here and the 3rd consecutive game that Forest have dropped points, Jason. It's 2-2. In fact, it's 3-2 for Forest. They've just scored from a corner. Darius Henderson on as a sub, and he's got the goal that will surely give Forest the points now. Forest 3, Barnsley 2.
Excellent timing. Thank you very much indeed. Danny Ngesson has got a goal back at Molineux. Let's go to Richard Askham at the Reebok Stadium. What has happened to Doogie Freedom and Bolton Wanderers, Richard?
They've been struggling today, Jason. Leeds are leading thanks to Luke Varney's emphatic header early in the first half, driven on by their all-action skipper Rudolph Austin. Bolton just on the attack there, but cleared by the Leeds defence. Leeds have won the physical battle in midfield. Bolton have woken up this half a bit thanks to the introduction of ex-Leeds man Jermaine Beckford. He almost scored, and Robert Hawley had a good shout for a penalty waved away, but with 2 minutes to go, Leeds still in control.
Back to Bournemouth, Blackpool, and I'm hearing, Hamish Marshall, that Paul Ince is in trouble?
Yes, he is. The Blackpool manager has been sent from the dugout. He's been sent to the stands after arguing with referee Oliver Langford and the 4th official about a number of decisions. It's got quite tasty, this match, especially since Blackpool were reduced to 10 men. The one consolation he's got is the clock is ticking away. 5 minutes to go. He might be watching from the stands, but his side are still winning here by 2-1.
To Tony Husband at Vicarage Road. How's this for a start, Tony? If Watford draw today, it'll be their 1000th league draw.
Yes, indeed, Jason, and it is 1-1 with 6 minutes to play, although Watford are going to be pushing for a winner in the last few minutes. You would think the Championship's top scorers, who trailed to a second-half penalty from Jan Kermagant, that was scored just 2 minutes after the restart. He's since gone off for Charlton with injury. Watford levelling 19 minutes from time. The impressive Diego Fabrini, seeing his shot saved by Ben Hamer, follow-up put in by Daniel Pudil. A couple of chances for each side since Johnny Jackson's just gone wide for Charlton. 1-1, 5 minutes to play.
Let's take you to the top of League One. It's been a dramatic afternoon for Steve May at the Matchroom Stadium.
Yes, and it gets more dramatic, Jason, because Leyton Orient have just scored their 3rd goal. It's Leyton Orient 3, Port Vale 2. Kevin Lisby, the 34-year-old, has just gone on and on and on from 25 yards out and put the ball past the Port Vale goalkeeper, Chris Neal, to looks as if he's going to secure the points. Remember that Leyton Orient have a 100% record this season, and they started this game actually midway through it. They were a goal down. So at the moment, everything going Leyton Orient's way. Their 100% record would seem to be intact. Leyton Orient 3, Port Vale 2.
Peterborough United 3-0 up at Ashton Gate to Naz Premji at Hillsborough.
Sheffield Wednesday 1, Yeovil Town 1. Story of the game so far. He scored for Wednesday to give them the lead. Byron Webster then punched the goal scorer, saw red, and then Yeovil with the 10 men levelled in the second period through Joe Rawls, of course on loan from Cardiff City. Since then it's been end-to-end, Jason. You can't tell Yeovil are playing with a man less, and any one of these sides could nick a late winner. There are 2 minutes plus stoppage time to go. It's Sheffield Wednesday 1, Yeovil Town 1.
Let's take you to Portman Road and Mark Webber. Any talk of Mick McCarthy and the Republic of Ireland job?
I think you'll want to stay here at the moment. Ipswich 2, Middlesbrough 1. The drums beating loudly in the Ipswich stands, and rightly so. They found 5th gear in this second half, Jason. A well-taken Luke Chambers header from a Cresswell cross gave them a lead, and it's given them some spark as well. 2 great goals either side in a tepid first half, but Borough have struggled in this second half. They brought in extra firepower in the form of ex-Norwich player Kay Kamara. You can imagine the warm Ipswich welcome an ex-Norwich player got when he came on the pitch, can't you?
Yes, I can. Let's go to Delith Lloyd and the big Yorkshire game between Huddersfield Town, Doncaster Rovers. Delith.
Yeah, not as boring as the 0-0 goal line suggests either. Huddersfield with a chance just skimmed across the goal by James Vaughan. And not as boring as the 0-0 goals type suggests. As I said, Doncaster very much dominated the first half. Huddersfield, though, really into 5th gear in the second half. Their best chance coming from James Vaughan. He was played through on goal by Sean Scannell, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but his left foot shot was parried away by Ross Turnbull, who's had a fantastic second half in goal for Doncaster. But with 3 minutes remaining, it's still 0-0.
Back to the Premier League. There has been a very big goal at Craven Cottage. Jackie Oatley.
And it has been scored by West Bromwich Albion. Gareth McCauley with a towering header at the far post from a Chris Brunt corner. Wonderful header from him, and West Bromwich Albion's first goal in stoppage time at the end of their 4th game of the season. That is their first Premier League goal of the season. Sidwell with the opening goal. They should have put the game to bed. They didn't. West Brom looked to have made them pay, but we have 3 more minutes of added time. Fulham 1, West Brom 1.
Back to the Championship. Millwall fans, look away now. Tony Lockwood.
Millwall 1, Derby County 5, and they are leaving in numbers. The last dying moments of a miserable afternoon for Steve Lomas and his Millwall side. Mason Bennett has got the goal, his first league goal for the Rams. They have been convincing on their travels. 5-1 they lead at Millwall.
Oof, painful. Let's go to Rugby Park in the Scottish Premiership. How are Terry Butcher's Inverness getting on, Ian Turner?
Well, it's the dying embers of this game, and it looks as if it's going to be 5 wins and a draw now for Terry Butcher's Inverness, and they're proving, and there goes the final whistle, they're proving that last season was no flash in the pan. Boos from the Kilmarnock fans, because their team have only 2 points from 6 games now. It was captain Richie Foran and Billy Mackay who scored the league leaders' goal. Squeezed between them was a deflected Barry Nicholson effort. Great performance from Inverness. They stay top, the 3 clear of Celtic.
Well, we were telling you earlier that Paolo Di Canio is a very unhappy man at the Stadium of Light. And Paul Addison, it looks to us here in the studio that Di Canio has been sent to the stands.
Well, it did look like it, Jason, actually. He was raging at the referee, Martin Atkinson, for a good long time, right on the edge of his technical area. Martin Atkinson was telling him to go away as a Sunderland free kick from Craig Gardner goes over the top of the Arsenal bar. He's retreated to near enough where the tunnel begins here at the Stadium of Light. Difficult to tell whether he's actually been given his marching orders or not, but there's one thing for sure, he is absolutely apoplectic. It is Sunderland 1, Arsenal 3.
Off for Norwich midway through the second half, but in truth, Spurs were very, very impressive. 2-0 winners.
Gareth who?
Gareth who?
Yeah.
Indeed. Spurs
Took
today.
it a few minutes then, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Spurs played beautifully today. They did. And
you've forgotten about Bale already?
Absolutely. Jonathan Ledyard's was absolutely spot on. And every time I looked at that game, Spurs looked comfortable. Some fabulous performances. Sigurdsson in particular. Eriksson looked a class. But Ozil-like, actually, you know, the assists and the balls. It was really the sort of football that Spurs fans like to see at White Hart Lane.
Top 4 side today, they look like?
No, they did look like a top 4 side today, and as Garth said, you know, 2 of their new summer signings, if you like, Paulinho and Eriksson, both involved in assists for Sigurdsson's 2 goals. So a great day all round for Spurs, really. A clean sheet. Norwich didn't really offer that much, but in all fairness, I'd rather say Spurs were excellent.
OK, we've got a late goal at Portman Road for Mark Webber.
David McGoldrick with his second of the game. 3-1 for Ipswich. Waltzed into the Middlesbrough area like a Strictly Come Dancing contestant. Left foot, easy shot. Ipswich 3, Middlesbrough 1.
And it's all over at...
Ruled out for offside at the other end. In the end, neither side could find a winner. 1-1.
Stoke City have never lied.
From a Carl Jenkinson cross, then minutes later the controversy. Josie Altidore had the ball in the back of the net, just over the line, but Martin Atkinson had already blown his whistle for a Sunderland free kick. Paolo Di Canio raging that the advantage wasn't played, and then Aaron Ramsey finished it off for Arsenal. 76 minutes, another fantastic finish after being teed up by Olivier Giroud. Paolo Di Canio in added on time, sent to the stands. Action-packed afternoon. Sunderland 1, Arsenal 3.
And it's all over.
But 5 minutes later, Jouffran put United back in front. They had other chances too. Ben Arfa, excellent today, might have had a penalty. Cabaye started the match after being booed by Newcastle fans on a previous substitute appearance. Substituted late on here. He was cheered off, as were Newcastle.
Alan, thank you very much indeed.
Berbatov with 2 of them, Roddy Ager with the other after Ruiz had hit the bar. And Steve Sidwell hooked in the only goal in the first half after poor Albion defending from a corner, but they didn't build on it. Fulham didn't take their chances, and they've still not won at home in the league since April. Boos at the final whistle. Fulham 1, West Brom 1.
To the Championship, and a tough afternoon for the league leaders, Hamish Marshall.
Yeah, but they've run out 2-1 winners at Bournemouth. Paul Ince watched the last 5 minutes plus stoppage time from the stand, but he's seen his Blackpool side keep that top spot after surviving the last half hour with 10 men. The Cherries threw everything at Ince's side, but they couldn't cancel out the decisive goal from Neil Bishop, a header early in the second half. That's Blackpool's best ever start to a season, 16 points from 18 for Bournemouth. That ends a run of 6 straight home wins. Bournemouth 1, Blackpool 2.
Well, Blackpool's best ever start, but Birmingham City's defeat today, Will Perry, means it's their worst start to a season for 25 years.
Doesn't look good, is it, if you're a Birmingham fan, Jason? QPR 1, Birmingham 0, a fourth straight win, though, for QPR. They stay behind the leaders, Blackpool, on goal difference, 16 points from a possible 18 for Harry Redknapp. Birmingham should have had the lead as well in the first half, absolutely. Lee Novak headed against the post, and then minutes later, Andrew Shinnie, you were with me live for that, Mr. Sitter, a real sitter as well. Rob Green wasn't even in the goal. Charlie Austin headed what proved to be the winner 4 minutes after the break for QPR. Joey Barton's free kick rattled the bar in stoppage time as well. As you say, a fourth defeat from 6 for Birmingham, their worst league start in 25 years, and a long way home to the Midlands. QPR 1, Birmingham 0.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Leicester City keeping up the pressure on Queen's Park Rangers, and Blackpool, James Mason.
Yes, Leicester 2, Wigan 0. The home side well worth all 3 points since taking the lead on the 50-minute mark as Liam Moore met an outswinging corner with real power to sail past a crowd of players on the line and Wigan keeper Scott Carson. But they had to wait for over an hour before adding a second when David Nugent fired home from the penalty spot after Jean Beausejour clearly brought down Jamie Vardy in the box. Wigan never seemed to get going and can have no complaints really. It's ended Leicester City 2, Wigan Athletic 0.
I would imagine there were plenty of boos at the Reebok Stadium. Richard Askham?
Yes, there were plenty, Jason. Another defeat for Bolton that marks their worst start to a season in the league for 50 years. Wanderers failed to wrestle control from a Leeds side who have a never-say-die determination about them this season. Austin and Varney bossed midfield. McCormack was his usual nippy nuisance. Luke Varney was the match winner, nodding in his second of the season from a corner. Bolton did make a late charge. Darren Prattley came close to snatching a point, but for the most part they had the look of a side short on ideas and confidence.
Tony Husband, I will give you the opportunity to use perhaps the best stat of the season. Over to you.
Well, it's not a stat that Watford were in any hurry to achieve, but this 1-1 draw with Charlton is their 1000th draw in league football. 4 without a win, though, for the promotion chasers now. A decent point for Charlton, who led early in the second half after Jan Kermigant scored from the spot following a foul on fullback Laurie Wilson. Watford, for the most part, frustrated today. Diego Fabrini, their standout player. His shot could only be parried by Ben Hamer. Daniel Pudil put in the rebound. There were Watford appeals for a penalty in stoppage time. Referee Andy Woolmer, who was kept busy all day, waved away handball claims, and it finished with the 1000th draw.
Well done. Terrific day in the Premier League today. It's a bumper match of the day featuring all 8 of today's Premier League games. 10:30 tonight, BBC One. Reaction from players and managers in the Premier League, plus more from John and Garth after a full check on today's results with Mike West.
And starting with the Barclays Premier League, Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 2. Everton against Chelsea, an evening kick-off at 5:30. Fulham 1, West Bromwich Albion 1. Hull City 1, Cardiff City 1. Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 0. Stoke City 0, Manchester City 0. Sunderland 1, Arsenal 3. And Tottenham Hotspur 2, Norwich City 0. On to the Sky Bet Championship, AFC Bournemouth 1, Blackpool 2, Bolton Wanderers 0, Leeds United 1, Burnley 1, Blackburn Rovers 1, Huddersfield Town 0, Doncaster Rovers 0, Ipswich Town 3, Middlesbrough 1, Leicester City 2, Wigan Athletic 0, Millwall 1, Derby County 5, Nottingham Forest 3, Barnsley 2, Queen's Park Rangers 1, Birmingham City 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Yeovil Town 1, and Watford 1, Charlton Athletic 1. The Sky Bet League 1, Bradford City 2, Colchester United 2, Bristol City 0, Peterborough United 3, Carlisle United 1, Sheffield United 0, Crawley Town 1, Shrewsbury Town 1, Crewe Alexandra 0, Walsall 3, Leyton Orient 3, Port Vale 2, Milton Keynes Dons 3, Notts County 1, Preston North End 3, Stevenage 0, Rotherham United 3, Oldham Athletic 2, Tranmere Rovers 3, Brentford 4, and Wolverhampton Wanderers 3, Swindon Town 2. The Sky Bet League 2, Burton Albion 1, Portsmouth 2, Cheltenham Town 2, Oxford United 2. Chesterfield 2, AFC Wimbledon 0. Dagenham and Redbridge 2, Bristol Rovers 0. Fleetwood Town 2, Bury 1. Hartlepool United 2, Accrington Stanley 1. Newport County 2, Morecambe 3. Northampton Town 1, Exeter City 2. Plymouth Argyle 0, Wycombe Wanderers 3. Rochdale 1, Torquay United 0. And York City 1, Mansfield Town 2. The Skrill Premier, Barnet 1, Lincoln City 1. Cambridge United 1, Gateshead 0. Dartford 1, Nuneaton Town 2. Forest Green Rovers 2, Halifax Town 1. Grimsby Town 1, Braintree Town 0. Kidderminster 2, Hyde 1. Macclesfield Town 0, Alfreton Town 1. Salisbury City 3, Chester 1. And Southport 2, Welling United 2. Into Scotland and the Scottish Premiership, Hearts 1, Celtic 3. Kilmarnock 1, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 2. Partick Thistle 0, Aberdeen 3. St Johnstone 1, Hibernian 2. And St Mirren 0, Motherwell 1. The Scottish Championship, Alloa Athletic 1, Dumbarton 2. Cowdenbeath 1, Falkirk 0. Dundee 0, Hamilton Academical 0. Livingston 2, Greenock Morton 2. Queen of the South 0, Wraith Rovers 1. The Scottish League 1, Adrionians 3, Stranraer 2. Brechin City 1, Dunfermline 1. East Fife 1, Forfar Athletic 3. Rangers 5, Arbroath 1. And Stenhousemuir 1, Ayr United 1. The Scottish League 2, Albion Rovers 0, Berwick Rangers 2. Clyde 1, East Stirlingshire 2. Elgin City 3, Montrose 3. Peterhead 2, Queen's Park 1. And Stirling Albion 0, and an Athletic 2. The Corvette Sports Welsh Premier, Ballatown 0, Newtown 0 is a latest score. Bangor City 1, Port Talbot Town 1. Carmarthen Town 3, Avonlido 0. And Rill 2, Airbus UK Broughton 2. Lastly, the Danske Bank Irish Premiership, Cliftonville 4, Glentoran 1. Coleraine 1, Ballina-Mallard 2. Glenavon 4, Ards 1. Linfield 4, Ballymena United 1. Portadown 2, Dungannon Swifts 1. And finally, Warren Point Town 1, Crusaders 1.
So this is how the Barclays Premier looks tonight. Arsenal are the new leaders of the Premier League for now on goal difference ahead of North London rivals Tottenham. Chelsea can go top if they win at Everton in today's late kick-off. Liverpool are not in action until Monday. Newcastle now in the top half of the table following their second successive win. The pressure on Sunderland's Paolo Di Canio must surely now be growing. They slipped below West Brom to the foot of the table. The Baggies scored their first goal of the season to salvage a point and rise above the Black Cats. Into the Championship, Blackpool and QPR racked up their fifth victories of the season to maintain their 3-point lead at the top. Nottingham Forest and Leicester also won to move above Burnley, who are held to a draw by Blackburn in the East Lancashire derby at lunchtime. Bolton lost but do move off the bottom. That's because Millwall suffered a heavy home defeat at home to Derby. They now prop up the table on goal difference. Yeovil picked up a point. That's enough to lift them above Barnsley. Sheffield Wednesday also drew and they move above Birmingham City. The top of League One, a late goal helped Leyton Orient keep up their 100% record. Wins for Wolves and Peterborough mean they remain in hot pursuit of the O's. Preston, Rotherham, MK Dons kept their unbeaten starts to the season. Notts County remain rooted to the foot. Gillingham and Bristol City also winless, but Carlisle picked up their first win of the season against Sheffield United and they leapfrog the Blades. Let's take a look at League Two. Chesterfield stretched their lead at the top to 4 points after they beat AFC Wimbledon today. Second placed Oxford can only draw. That defeat for the Dons sees them slip to 7th. Fleetwood, Exeter, Wickham and Morecambe all winning to move above them. Take a look at the bottom. The bottom two met today, and victory for Hartlepool means that Accrington are now 3 points adrift at the foot of the table. Hartlepool move above York City and Northampton, who both lost at home. Wins for Dagenham and Redbridge and Portsmouth have propelled them right up the table. Cambridge United and Nuneaton Town remain locked together at the top of the table after they won again. Barnet lost ground after a late equaliser denied them 3 points. And at the bottom, Aldershot lifted themselves off it with their win over Hereford United last night. Hyde lost again, meaning that they are now bottom. And in the Scottish Premiership, Inverness stay top after their 5th win in the first 6 games. Champion Celtic also won to stay second. They're 3 points ahead behind Cally Thistle, but they do have a game in hand on the leaders. The Hoops beat Hearts. They remain 9 points adrift at the bottom of the table. The only consolation for the Jambos is that St Mirren and Kilmarnock, the two teams immediately above them, also lost. Don't forget, we want to hear from you today via Twitter. Let us know who's been outstanding today in whatever league you've been watching. Get in touch on Twitter. Use the hashtag result of the day. Terrific win for Arsenal at the Stadium of Light today. Let's hear from Arsene Wenger.
We had plenty of chances in the first half, had an outstanding first half. Second half, Sunderland played very well with much more energy. They came back to 1-1. We were a bit lucky, 2-1 maybe, but we found the mental resources again to win the game, and were much more clinical in the second half. But overall, it was a very good game.
When you say a little bit of luck, the Sunderland disallowed goal at 2-1, what was your view of how the incident took place?
It says always, you know, but could it been foul for us as well, because Altidore took Sanya as well, and but the referee blew before the goal was in. I'm sure of that, because I looked at him, and after that it can only come to the free kick once you blow the whistle. If a ball doesn't go in, people moan as well because didn't give a free kick.
Mesut Ozil's debut, it only took him 10 minutes, and he did what he's been doing for the last few years, made a goal.
Yes, he can do that, and he had an outstanding first half. In the second half, he dropped a bit physically. He was sick yesterday, but overall, he's very positive for us today.
2 goals from Aaron Ramsey. Has he grown? Has he matured in the last year or so?
Dramatically, you know. He's a different player to 1 year ago in September. Many people questioned him, and so credit to him. He works very hard and has improved dramatically. For such a young player, it's absolutely fantastic what he's doing.
We'll talk about Aaron Ramsey in just a moment, but I remember sitting here, Garth Crooks, on the opening day of the season when Arsenal were beaten at home to Villa. Much doom and gloom around the Emirates. You spend £42 million on a terrific international footballer. Things change.
Yep. When you buy real quality, everybody gets a lift. Even the supporters sense that things are changing. And today, Ozil looked like he'd been playing at Arsenal all his life.
Yeah.
And he fitted in, you know, beautifully, effortlessly. It was easy for him. And king of the assists, you can see why it matched the day tonight. He fed in a lovely ball across the box for Giroud to score. There was another wonderful ball that he played in for Walcott without breaking stride. A beautiful touch on the ball and a feel for the ball. So, you know, whatever anybody thinks about 42 million, it was money well spent on this performance.
How good was Ozil today, John?
Well, he was outstanding. He was all of the £42 million. That's what you want. You want performances when you spend that type of money on players. But Ozil will get all the headlines. But Aaron Ramsey, you know, Arsene Wenger said he's matured. He's fully over his injury. Horrific leg break a couple of years ago at Stoke. Took him a while to get back. 2 goals again today. 5 or 6 goals from midfield. And that's a godsend. If you've got midfielders that can come in with double figures, 10, 15 goals a season, Lampards and the Gerrards do it every single year. That takes a lot of pressure off the front men, obviously, and I thought Aaron Ramsey was terrific again.
And you're part of the Wales coaching team. Have you seen a dramatic development in Aaron Ramsey's performances simply because he had that awful leg break a few years ago And it's taken the season to get back to the form he was in before that.
That's right, yes. And, you know, he's responded really well. He had the captaincy taken off him because we just felt we'll just release a little bit more pressure off him in terms of leading his country. The way he responded to that and his performances, not only for Arsenal, but also for Wales. But I think Arsene Wenger is fully justified today as well in playing him. You know, and now with Ozil, you look at the midfield players Arsenal have, they are very much like for like. But, you know, Ramsey has secured his place in that side.
And he's been the permanent fixture in that midfield this season. Great testimony of the faith the manager has in the player.
Okay. Yes. Let's hear from Tottenham Hotspur's goal-scoring hero, Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Gylfi, well played. How pleased are you with the win and your own contribution?
Yeah, it's always nice to get 2 goals. The most important thing today was to get the win, and obviously we kept a clean sheet again. It's important for the defence, so overall it's a very good day.
You nearly didn't play in this game, did you?
Yeah, it was a bit of a doubt this morning, but thankfully the manager told me to get a couple of painkillers down me, and luckily I got 2 goals today.
That was after the international break, was it? A couple of injuries?
Yeah, just a couple of knocks, and I didn't quite recover quickly enough, but thankfully this morning I felt all right, and a couple of painkillers, as I said, had done the job.
You played alongside Christian Eriksen today. He set up the first goal. What did you make of his debut?
Yeah, it's very good. He's a very good player. He's technically really good. He can spot players running on the side of him and behind him, so he'll be a good addition to the squad.
A lot was said after the Arsenal game that this squad needs time to gel, but they look pretty good today, despite presumably not having much time together in the last couple of weeks.
No, I mean, obviously we went away with the internationals, but I think the boys came back really hungry to get a win today, especially after the defeat against Arsenal, and we showed it today. We've got a really good team.
And what's it like as an attacking midfielder in this team? Because the squad's hugely competitive in that area, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got many good players, and obviously we've got loads of competitions this season, so we need a big squad, and the competition only makes you stronger.
Gylfi Sigurdsson, well, in many of today's newspapers, Andre Villas-Boas, the Spurs manager, was talking about they have to qualify for the Champions League this year. Let's have a chat to Motti, who was at White Hart Lane. And, John, given how well Spurs played today, I'm just wondering whether Spurs could achieve more than that 4th place finish.
Well, I would just be a little bit cautious about that, Jason, and I think Tottenham fans who are here today will be very pleased with what they saw, but shouldn't go overboard at this stage. I've got to sort of slightly counter this excitement and enthusiasm by saying that Norwich, by their standards, were very, very poor. Tottenham must have had 80-something% of the possession, and the only disappointment, I think, from a Tottenham camp point of view is that really it should have been more than 2-0. They had opportunities to open up the Norwich defence on a number of occasions. So it's progress. I don't think we'll know the full story about Tottenham post Gareth Bale until these new players have been bedded in completely. I mean, obviously Christian Eriksen made a very good start, but it's only a start. And Lamata came on, but he only came on for a few minutes. And Chedley was injured, and the Romanian centre-back hasn't got a work permit yet. So basically there's still an awful lot of juggling for AVB to do before we know what the true measure of the new Tottenham team is.
Motti, good point, well made. It's got to gel, and it's got to gel quickly.
Well, yes, I think you spend over £100 million. You want it to gel as quick as you can. But common sense tells you it's going to take a little bit of time, naturally. But today, I thought the players who made the debut today, Eriksen, he was absolutely outstanding. I think when you see Match of the Day tonight and you watch his pass for Sigurdsson's first goal, Sigurdsson's coming on the blind side of him there, and the way he's popped the pass into Sigurdsson's path, beautiful. The real quality. And Sigurdsson can do them type of things, you know, but Soldado's off the mark in terms of his goals. Sigurdsson got 2 today, and is a really good, impressive performance from Spurs today.
I tell you what, if you live in North London and you like football, you can watch 2 fantastic clubs playing beautiful football. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, I watched Times Arsenal today with Ozil and Ramsey, superb. Spurs today. You know, I think it's a very exciting time if you're a Tottenham fan. You know, people be talking about Bale. Bale's gone. You know, the king is dead. You've got to now start focusing on what you've got in front of you. And what you've got in front of you at the moment is looking fantastic.
OK, we've heard from Arsene Wenger, we've heard from Gylfi Sigurdsson. One of today's other winners, Alan Pardew, the Newcastle United manager.
Well, Alan, that performance and certainly the result must give you enormous pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, we played very well today, I thought, and some of our play was what it should be at Newcastle United, and a real offensive team with an offensive attacking mode. And I've not been able to put teams out like that because I've not had the quality to do it for probably since Demba Ba left. But to have the options that I had today was the difference. Loic Remy, his first game, Cabaye back in the starting lineup, and then having Gouffren off the bench made a big difference.
Hartson Ben Arfa catches the eye when he plays, scored one and had a huge part to play in the second goal.
Well, I think there was an over-the-top reaction to his performance last week because I thought he was okay, but he got a great goal. This today was magnificent. I mean, you know, if you want to pay money, that's what you want to see. He held on to the ball, he burst past two, he burst past a third. Anything can happen. And the left back, unfortunately, had an afternoon where you couldn't deal with him. No one could have dealt with him today. And his concentration has been terrific. And if he keeps that, not only will we get 52,000 every week, but he'll be pushing for the French side. A fantastic performance.
Delighted, Alan Pardew. You just made a very good point, John. It's the first time you've seen Alan Pardew look relaxed.
I think he forgot how to smile. I think obviously results dictate, you know, your mood swings and things like that. And they've not been having great results, but there's been a lot of negativity come out of Newcastle in recent weeks. You know, a few ex-legends sort of giving their, you know, their
forthright views,
opinions during the week about Newcastle as a club. But they've got good players. You know, they held on to Cabaye, Ben Arfa, Remy today was involved in a couple of the goals. And it's nice to see Alan Pardew smile because he's got a difficult job up there in Newcastle because he did so well in his first year, I think finished 6th or 7th. So he's got a lot to live up to, but he's done very well today.
John, Garth, thank you both very much indeed. Do not miss Match of the Day tonight. It has been a terrific day in the Barclays Premier League. We'll continue our look back on the day's big stories on the Red Button and BBC Sport website in a few minutes. That's where we are on Saturdays from 2:30 next week at the earlier time of 3:30. Bye for now.